Hi everybody and welcome to another little video tutorial, call it what you will. Today we're going to have a play. You know I love my background techniques, so today I thought we'd play with the cling film technique. Some of you may know it better as cling wrap. Now again, as always, I must stress there are lots of different ways of doing these techniques. I'm on here showing you a way that I like to do it, and it's just a way that I find useful for workshops. Obviously I can't run workshops at the minute, so this is my way of just doing a little bit of an online workshop. This is the card, or similar. You know what I'm like, very difficult producing the same thing twice. This is the background I'm going to show you, and it's really the areas here, if I can point out, this is what I'm interested in, and it's just how I made this background. And then we'll stamp up and hopefully come up with a design, something similar to this. Today I'm using stamps from Lavinia Stamps, a company based here in the UK, in Ruthin in Wales, lovely family run business. So Tracy Dutton hand draws all these images, which is fabulous, and she's such a lovely, kind, gentle lady as well. And I'm also going to be using some inks, and most importantly a piece of cling wrap or cling film. So what I'll do, I'll start off and I'll show you what we're going to do. Once again, I must say thank you for the lovely comments. If you ask me questions, I do try and get on and answer them. So if it takes me a while, I'm very sorry. I do try and answer them when I see them. So what we'll do, we'll pop that to one side. And what we're going to need is a piece of cling film. Like I say, there are various ways of doing this. I'm not saying this is the correct way. This is just the way I find it easiest to teach this. So I've got a piece of my film, cling film, or I believe film wrap it's called in some places. You can do this with a plastic bag as well. I just find this way the best. And I've got a piece of A4 cardstock here. You do need one that takes water well. So have that ready. Obviously my craft desk, it's so funny, I don't know about you, but I have such little space. I don't know where the space goes. So anyway, and what we're going to do is we're going to use some Distress Oxide ink. And actually the colour I wanted, I haven't got in oxide, so I'm mixing it with a Distress ink. Again, you can mix and match with them. And all I'm going to do is put my ink directly onto the cling wrap. And I'm sort of going to almost push it onto the cling wrap. So there's one. I'm going to lean across you, and I'm going to add another colour. Now if the ink pads get contaminated, sometimes you can get the colours. I don't worry about that, because if I'm that worried, I wipe it clean on a piece of card. But to be honest, for me, direct to paper makes great backgrounds, so I'm happily using my ink pads direct to paper anyway, so I haven't got a problem with that. And I'm going to add some blue, and I'm just going to sort of thump that down a bit. Makes a great noise. And I'm just going to spritz that with water. Now what I have found, the best way again for me when I'm teaching this, I tend to get my piece of cardstock and I would give that a good old spritz too. And then take your cling wrap. Remember to turn it over, because obviously you do want the inky side down. Just going to turn this round because I think you might possibly see it better. And you'll see the ink going on the card. Now what I like to do is sort of smoosh it around a bit to try and get those lines. And sort of help the ink mix and make a pattern. So what I would do in some areas, so for example here, maybe just lift the cling film up a little, spritz a bit more water, and then move it, almost drag it, and then press the cling film down. And those are the bits that I find when they dry, those actually end up the most interesting bits. So I'm thinking I'm going to do the same here. So again, a bit more water, and let's drag this. And if you sort of scrunch it up a little, then give it a good press down. I tend to only use 3 colours. If you add too many, it can go a little bit muddy, you know, where the colours merge, and we don't want that. we want to try and keep our colour. The good thing about this is you never get two the same. And I just think anytime we have fun in crafting, for me, you know, if you're a bit fed up at the minute, if you're in lockdown, if you're not feeling well, if your mojo's gone, this is a great thing to do because you have fun doing this. Put it to one side, let it dry, and honestly, you just don't know what you're going to get. But I can guarantee you it's going to be a background, and, you know, I just love stamping backgrounds up. So what I would do is pop that to dry, and just dry my mat here. And in the good old, dare I say, Blue Peter. So any of those of you who are abroad, Blue Peter was at a children's programme here, and they always had one prepared earlier. So we always say, like Blue Peter, here's one I prepared earlier. Now this one I did yesterday and let it dry. As you can see, it's dry because the cling film's obviously lifted off. Beauty of this is you can use your cling film for re-inking again and again and again. So I'll pop that to one side. Now, look at that. I just love that. Can you see, if I slowly lift it a bit closer, can you see these lines here? That's what I love, all these lines. As the cling film dries with the faux bleaching, so not only have you got your ink where it's oxidised, look, but you've got all these beautiful lines. Now for me, for a background, and a homemade background as well, I just think that that's fabulous. So I'm not going to stamp on that one. What I've done is I have another one, and again I think I'll find that one just down here, and I've got one that I made yesterday because again I batch made these, so I had quite a few, and this is one that I made yesterday, and as you can see again from an A4, this is just a 5x7 I've cut, so I've got two of these out of my piece, and again I love these. Just looks so magical, which is great when you're sort of using Lavinia stamps. Now, it may dry a bit warped. Again, you could put the heat gun over if it's not quite dry. And I always just like to almost do this, just to sort of flattens it out a little. So what we'll do is we'll get on with some stamping. Now, again, me being me, I like to just stamp on a magazine with some copy of paper, and I'm just looking for a clean piece. There we go. So for me, it just helps stamping because my table's not that brilliant for stamping on. So a little tip, if you're new to stamping, and I know some of you, your lovely followers, are new, I just find it's a bit more forgiving this way. When you've got a piece like this, do spend a few minutes just having a look as to how you think. You see, again, you know, what way? Now, I think I like it. I like it that way, but I think on my original, so what's useful with your Lavinia stamps, you have the acetate that's printed, so you can actually put it on. And I'm thinking, see, these dragons I think look lovely with this sky, although that looks quite good, doesn't it, as though he's flying. Yeah. Maybe we could we have him flying there and then put our toadstool, where's my toadstool one? Oh, like everything, I've put it somewhere safe. Wondering we could stamp the toadstool here and then put him, yeah, I think we'll do it that way. I like it that way. I do talk to myself as well while I'm crafting, so I'm going to stamp using VersaFine Clair. Now, I've got a couple of ink pads on the go at the minute, and again, this is a tip. Sometimes, you know, if you think you're rubbish at stamping, it might be that your ink pad's a little bit dry, and I know one of mine is, so I'm actually going to use two ink pads, just because I know one of them is particular, and I'm not sure which one it is. Now again, I'm just going to clean the surround of the stamp. Again, just for me, a lot of people I know don't need to, it doesn't transfer, but unfortunately for me, if I don't clean the edges, I know it will transfer. I just know what I'm like. So we'll pop that. And because we're using a VersaFine Clair, it's a slow drying ink. So now again, when you press down, give it a good press. Don't take both hands off, and do hold it there for a while, a few minutes. Don't be in a rush to lift it up. let the ink soak into the card, which is another reason why this needs to be dry. Like I say, mine's slightly damp, so it probably won't stamp as well, but really just waft your heat tool over it. Do make sure it's dry. Oh no, that's stamped nicely. Now, I've just had a thought, but I'm going to stamp the hair, little hair on top of it, but he may be facing the wrong way. I want him looking this way. And the one that I was going to stamp, he's looking the wrong way, so perhaps I could change him. There's 3 in the set, you see, so I'm thinking I want him looking that way, so we'll just... Well, it's just like you would at home. Obviously, you know, you think these things through. And really, this is just like me crafting at home. So again, I'm just cleaning up these little edges that I catch. And I'm just going to hold him and stamp him there. Again, hold him down as a silhouette. Now, if you're not sure, obviously when you're stamping on top of something like on the mushroom, practice it on your copy of paper, you know, just to help your placement. You do need your head really right over the top, but if I do that, you may get the top of my head on the camera, which isn't a good look, especially at the minute as I've not been to the hairdressers for, what is it, 10 weeks we've been in lockdown? So really you don't want to see my roots. So give him a minute and lift him off. Yeah, now he's stamped well. Can you see? The placement there, it just happens, it looks okay. If there was a little gap, all I would do is get my black fine liner pen and I would just edge a little bit more of the top of the mushroom to make it look like he was, or give him a slightly larger bottom. Lockdown bottom, I think we'll call it. Somebody did say the other day that what you have to do in lockdown is take the clothes out of your wardrobe and air them every couple of days, because if you don't, they'll shrink. I think that's due to the fact that actually we're probably eating all eating or drinking a little bit more in lockdown. I must admit I did find that quite amusing. So anyway, we could give him a little bit of a bigger bottom. So that's that bit. So what I'm going to do now is stamp my dragon. I do think the dragon goes lovely with this sort of sky. Now again, he's a silhouette stamp, so he does need a good inking. So I am, like I said before, just mixing my 2 ink pads because one is quite dry. Now I'm using VersaFine Clair just because they are my ink pad of choice. Should we put him, oh, let's put him going that way, yeah. They are my ink pad of choice. A couple of ladies have asked why, and it's just that VersaFine Clair is the new range of the VersaFine ink pads. I think they've just rejigged the formula, and also they changed the lids. The old VersaFine lids had a lid that was attached to the ink pad, and some crafters struggled with it, so now the ink pad is separate to the lid. But if you've just got the normal VersaFine, that's a really good ink pad. It just helps to show fine detail. I do find archival inks very good for silhouette stamps as well. There's nothing wrong with that. As I say, for me, it's just with a lot of the fine detail that you get on the Lavinia stamps, I do like the VersaFine Clair. Now again, with this being a silhouette, do give it a good few minutes. And as I say, my card is slightly damp, so... Right, I think we've given him a few minutes. We've waffled on enough there. Let's lift him up. Now, as you can see, it's not quite. We've got a few little... Oh, it's alive. Not to worry about that, because all I would do is take my black Sharpie pen and dot. Don't scribble, because it will look like you've coloured it in. But if you just add a few dots, I mean, this can happen. It can be that, as I say, one of my ink pads is certainly a little bit dry. And also I know this isn't, my card isn't quite dry enough, but it's not a problem. The other thing you can do is get a paintbrush and get your ink pad and just paint areas in. But certainly do not scribble, because if you do, it will look like you've coloured it in. And believe you me, it does actually show. But if you dot like this and just dab the area, it will just add to the texture. And honestly, nobody will ever know. and we're going to add some highlight anyway, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave that. What we're going to do now is add some, we'll add some foliage around, and let's have a look. So we're going to go for, we're going to use a colour now, and this one is Chianti. It's just a lovely sort of burgundy colour. Now again, I find it easier stamping sideways. Again, I don't know why, it's just something I find it easier doing. So what I'm going to do is do some first and second generation. And I'm just going to put a little bit of the foliage up the side. And again here, we'll go first and second. And I don't want it quite as tall where the mushrooms, toadstools are, but I want it tall at the edges, so I'll have some first. And again, when you're doing foliage, try not to get it all the same way. You want it to look quite natural, and you don't want it the same height either. You want it a bit random, so I'm happy with that. I like the way that looks. What I would do now is go onto the top. Now I just want a little bit around the top to frame it. Quite like this area here because it looks sort of as though it is quite sort of in the sky. So I'm just going to bring this lovely, it's called Fairy's Bonnet, this stamp. And I'm going to use a green here. Sorry, I didn't tell you. Oh, this is this Shady Lane that in my head is Shady Lady. I do love this colour. So I'm just going to add, now these are permanent ink pads. So this stamp is beautiful. It is one of my favourites. And this, I think I'm just going to keep this all first generation. Just want to alter the height a little. Put a little one there. I think that's enough. We don't want to overdo it. No, I like that. We'll stop there. That's the other thing. You don't want to overdo it. We don't want it, if there's too much foliage, it will just detract from what we're doing. Now, I'm just going to turn that over because it's a slow drying ink. Just want to blot it. We'll give that a good blot. So I like the way that's starting to build up. I want to keep some of this area here so that we can see this lovely background. So we'll bring in the piece of acetate now, the moon mask, and we'll just put that round our dragon, I think. I think that'll add to it. And what I'm going to use for this is I'm going to use a colour box ink, and this one is cranberry. The only reason I'm using colour box is I want a sort of a deeper red colour because I want to edge it as well. And I almost want to bring the pink here and this burgundy. So I want a colour that's going to match. And I didn't have a colour in my Distress Oxides, otherwise I would have used one of my oxides. So that's the only reason I've gone for the colour box. It's purely because it was the colour of the ink. Now, again, what I'm going to do now is ink up my smoothie, but don't go straight off the edge of your moon mask because you may end up with too much colour here. So always dab your ink on the actual acetate first and then just flick and gently flick to the side and go all the way around. And then sort of move your finger here, again on and flick. I've seen so many ladies spoil a lovely piece of work by going straight off and having too much colour and it being too dark. Now, when you think you've got the right amount of ink on, lift your moon mask and have a look. Yeah, that's lovely. I'm happy with that. I like that. So we'll just give that a little wipe. Remember to wipe the acetate, otherwise next time you'll get a mixture of your colours. Try and keep as clean as you can. Now we'll just edge the work. So again, I'm just gonna always start in the corners and we're just gonna work our way around. So again, I'm on the corner, so ink up, work my way down to the corner, ink up, and again right up the side to the corner where I will ink up, because I always want my corners darker. And obviously when you've got more ink, that's when it's going to be darker. Go right across to the other side. And that for me just frames it. Now, what I will do, pop the lid on my ink pad. With the ink that's here, I've got a fan brush and some water. and I'm just going to pick that ink up, and I'm just going to splat it here. Just add some, I just want some nice, I want this almost to look a bit sort of magical. So we'll add some splats there and then dry this up. It's just all little ways of creating the effect. Again, if you don't want to add the splats, by all means don't. I'm just showing you way that I like to build it up. But like I say, crafting, it's always up to the individual. So whatever you're happy with doing, that's what you carry on and do. At the end of the day, this is just here to inspire you, or for you to look at and say, no, that's not my cup of tea, in which case, you know, that's fine, that's your choice. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a quick dry. Right, a few more little things we can do. So what I want to do is add a little bit of colour to the mushrooms. So I'm going to do that just with my distress ink on my craft mat and my paintbrush. This is just such a lovely way of pick some colour up and just quickly. You could use colouring pencils, but for me, I find this is just so much quicker. I mean, again, if you want to take your time, obviously, and you want to spend your time carefully colouring in, by all means, use your pencils. I'm just doing it for speed for me for today. So, mop that up. And my little fairy bonnets here, I'm just going to add a little bit of blue. And the reason I'm going for blue is because I've got blue here, just want to bring it into here. So, same thing, I'm going to turn my work round. For me, I like to craft in the easiest way for me. So if it's easy for me to turn my work round, that's exactly what I would do. So I'm just going to add a little bit of blue. Now it won't show up much on the edges where I've got the red, and that's fine, I'm happy with that. But these ones here where I can get, just want to bring in just that hint of blue. Just go with that whole magical feel. You see how it almost gives them depth as well? I like that. You see, again, it's just bringing the whole thing to life. I'll clean that up. Right, a few more things to do. So what I'm going to do, I've got a white charcoal pencil. I tend to use charcoal pencils a lot in my work. And sorry, it makes a horrible scratching noise, this. So ignore the noise. Just going to go round my moon. Just on the inside. Now, you won't see that much of it, but for me, it's these little tricks. If I didn't put them there, you would notice it. I'm just going to give my hair here a little bit of a pom-pom tail there. And what you can do, where we've got the lines here, you can accentuate them a little. So I'm not going to do it on a lot, but I just want to add a little bit more. It's a nice one there. You see how that just makes it look, oh here, look, where we've got a few striations almost coming down. If we can add to those, maybe just to re-enhance, and look how it really makes that look so magical. Maybe just one here. Yeah, I like that. So, black fine liner, and I want to make it look like my dragon's flying. So if I just add 2 little lines there and 2 swishes here, then hopefully, can you see, I'll just turn it around for you, make it look like his tail's swishing as he's flying. So let me just think, what haven't we done? I think the last little bit is the white Posca pen, which I know some of the workshop ladies feel in dread when they hear the Posca. Give it a good shake, and I'm just going to add a few little highlights here on my dragon, just to bring him a bit more to life. A little bit on Bunny's ears, and a little bit to highlight his tail. Oh, and a flick on his nose, look. You can, if you want, add some on a few of this foliage here. Top of the mushroom, and here where we've got those little, we'll add a few more down here. And you can just a few little, not on all of them, just a few of them. What we can add to this here, if we want to build up a little bit of sort of mystical flowers just at the bottom there, I've got some coloured Posca, and I'm thinking some purple, and if we just add the dots here, thinking the purple and pink will go ever so nice here. And again, it's these little finishing touches. Do love these Posca pens. They work on a lot of surfaces. So you see how, again, if I turn it round, those little dots, they're not in your face, but I just think it adds to the whole thing. And then lastly, with a white Posca, I'm just going to flick. Now again, if you don't like flicking your Posca, you don't have to. And then I'll bring you a piece of black carding, and I'm just going to wipe up that little bit of Posca pen on my mat there, and I'm going to pop that there. So that's our finished, and hopefully you can see with that background we've got the lovely movement, and there's the original one. And what I'll do is I'll pop them side by side so you can see them, and I hope that's given you some inspiration. And it's really the technique with the cling film, so I hope you have fun doing it. As always, I love to read your comments. Please stay safe, everybody. Take care. Okay, love and hugs. See you again soon. Bye.